Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, April 13th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Holt, if you could lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and comply with RSA 91-8, the state of emergency and governance orders, restrictions on public meetings, the town of Alton is moving from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access and remote access instructions listed under News and Announcements on the homepage, or telephone the Selectmen's office 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and the meeting ID for each Selectmen's meeting. We'll let you know also that is considered a long-distance phone call. To the folks that are wondering if it is or not, it is considered a long distance. And hopefully the Selectmen can work on that as we work through these meetings. Gentlemen, if I get an approval of the agenda. Motion was made by Phil Whitman. Second. To approve the agenda as submitted, seconded by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? All those I'll poll the board. Bob?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Yes. Paul? Yes. Mr. McDonald? Ruben, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. At this time, I'm going to pause the Selectmen's meeting for a minute and introduce Chief Bodine of the Alton Fire Department. Last week we heard from Chief Ryan Heath. We will hear from the chief tonight as due to the health issues that most folks are concerned with the town of Alton. Chief?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address you guys in the town. As many as you know, I'm Jim Bodwin. I am the fire chief. I'm also Deputy Director of Emergency Management for the town. So first, I'm going to echo basically what Chief Heath said last week. And I'm going to follow up with some of the things that the fire department is doing during this time. The emergency management team continues to meet twice a week to discuss our response to COVID-19 in the town of Alton. We're making all attempts to be proactive and stay ahead of this disease. The measures that have been taken were put into place many earlier than other towns, and some of them prior to any emergency orders from the governor. The fire department has taken many extra precautions to protect us and our patients. We are conducting as much of our business over the phone and through the email or over the internet as possible. We have made strides to collect personal protective equipment from our most trusted vendors. We have changed our training model. We're doing one-on-one trainings, or we're doing computer-based trainings for everybody. Now giving us notification if there are symptoms of COVID-19 at a house we're responding to prior to our arrival. We're wearing masks for all patient encounters, and we're wearing full protective equipment for those patients that are at the greatest risk. The members of the department are continuously self-monitoring for symptoms, including daily temperature checks. We have established a place to self-quarantine if there is an unprotected exposure to any of our members. There have been some policy changes as well. Since hospitals are not allowing visitors, we're not allowing family to go to the hospital in the ambulance with the patient. Any patient that is of great risk to having COVID-19 will have to be transported to the closest facility only, unfortunately, not necessarily the patient choice. To protect yourself and others, all citizens are encouraged to keep practicing social distancing. In the state of New Hampshire so far, per capita, we have the third lowest cases in the country. Again, do not visit friends, family, or neighbors. Only spend time with those you actually live with. If you must leave your home for essential items or work, go and then come straight back home. If you have access to a mask, whether it's a medical or a homemade mask, you should use it. Wash your hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand sanitizer on a regular basis. Disinfect your home and your workspace as often as you can. Most importantly, if you are sick, stay home. You should be continuously self-monitoring for the following symptoms: fever over 99.9, a cough, chest tightness, headaches, shortness of breath, bluing of the lips, or unexplained confusion. You should do your best to stay healthy during this time. As always, eat well, exercise, get plenty of sleep, and drink plenty of water. Being in good health is your best defense if you do contract this virus. Please know that your emergency responders are still here for you. These are scary times as there are many unknowns. The emergency management team will continue to collect data and try to stay ahead of this disease. If you do have questions, please contact the police department, the fire department, or the public health officer. For the most up-to-date information, and this information is being updated daily, go to coronavirus.gov or nh.gov, or you can call 211 anywhere in New Hampshire. I would like to thank the board and the citizens for their support, patience, and many donations that have helped keep up our spirits and keep business moving. And if you guys have any questions, I will do my best.
Keith, you still have plenty of protective equipment then?
Yes, at this time we do.
Sanitizers and stuff like that for the fire department?
Yep. And it looks like we've been lucky enough to get a donation of N95 masks that should be coming in the next couple of days.
Any questions for the chief, folks?
Oh,
Chief, I want
doing a great job.
to thank you for your time tonight and coming in away from your family. We know you're working hard every day, and your crew is, and we very much appreciate it. We couldn't be prouder of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening, sir.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one, Chief. Okay, guys, before we get into the meeting, I do have to say one thing. Last week, there was a few times, one would be talking, another person would kind of come in. We have to stop that tonight, because what's that doing? It's overshadowing the box. So the people sitting out there hearing us, it goes in and out on them. Plus Mary, when she does the minutes, it's been very hard for her to listen to that. So if you see someone talking, let's hold off the best we can until they finish, then we'll just kind of chime in on the next person. Like I said, I attended the meeting today with the emergency management team. There wasn't much new. Seems like Route 11 is working for us up by the scenic view with no parking. That's keeping a handle on that. And the rest of the town crews are working hard and diligently underneath the conditions they're forced with right now. At that point, I'll move on to announcements. Town road weight limits are no longer in effect. Being no appointments tonight, I had asked on new business the 2020 town meeting results, because we hadn't had a chance to talk about them yet. I believe there was really only one article that dealt with us, and that was the article on the dock down at the bay. The one reason I wanted to discuss it is we have to do something, because it is a liability for the town, somewhat of that dock, if I'm not mistaken, Liz.
Yes, that is
Yeah,
correct.
I think we gotta-
Four shape.
I think we have to put 2x6s right across it with signs. Close it right down.
We talked about the possibility if this failed, that we would, at least Liz and I did, that it should be shut down.
Virgil? Yeah, I agree. It should be 2x6 dock with signs.
Bill?
Yeah.
Bob?
It is, it's unsafe.
Has our building inspector deemed it unsafe?
No, we have not had the building inspector go down. We could have him go down and inspect
Who
it.
has deemed it unsafe?
Myself, I wouldn't, if it was my dock, I would not go down there or let any customers walk on.
I can understand it. If it is unsafe, it should be roped off, boarded off, whatever. But I would like to have our building inspector deem it as being unsafe.
Okay. Bill, you all right with that?
Yeah.
Paul?
If that makes you feel better, yeah.
Virgil?
Yeah, but I think if he says unsafe, then I think it should be closed off, not keep waiting for another meeting or kicking the can down the road.
It should not be used, in my
not be
opinion,
used.
and I would look forward to him looking at it, and it shouldn't be used.
I think he is the official building inspector. He represents us. If he deems it unsafe, close it off.
Okay, gentlemen, could I have a motion in effect to have the building inspector look at the dock down there next to Shibley's if he feels it unfit and unsafe, along with the stairway going down to the dock, that it gets boarded off and signs go up, no trespassing.
So moved.
Made by Reuben Wentworth to have the building inspector look at the dock down at Shibley's, to inspect it, to see if it should be, is it too dangerous for the public to use, and cordon off the stairway going to it. And signs be put up, no trespassing. Seconded by Paul LaRochelle. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Bob?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil?
Yes.
Reuben, yes. In the affirmative. Anything else on the town meeting vote you gentlemen would like to talk about? Everything else that was on our agenda, on our ballot did pass, except for the planning board amendments, which we have no control over. Tonight, we'll be discussing the road improvement, road reconstruction plan. That'll be discussion tonight when Mr. Roberts joins us. And everything else is, I'm sure the town administrator will be bringing forward to us. And then Article 27 will not be moving forward, if I remember right. Not Article 27, it was another one that was in, it was the one on Copper Brook Road. I just gotta find it. Article 39 will not be moving forward. Even though it was approved. Why? Because the map, tax map and lot number were wrong in the warrant article. The gentleman has been notified of that, so at this time, we cannot go forward with that. Now, it was still an error on our part because this had been pre-approved 6 times and nobody was picked it up. So it was just an oversight. There was no cost measures to the town of Alton on it or no monies or any, nobody will do without. So it's really can be brought back up next year.
And is that the plan, Mr. Chairman?
I believe it will be the plan next year, but we'll have to wait to during when we're doing the warrant articles. But I'm sure Liz will bring it back up if the gentleman's still interested. And I believe that's the only other issue that was on the warrant article. You gentlemen have anything? Okay. And we'll wait to hear from Liz as things go forward on the different articles, especially the handicap accessibility coming upstairs.
I do have one question on the article for the water bandstand approval of the funds.
36?
On 36, yes. Yes, on 36. My question to that is, if that can move forward, in notifying Winnipesaukee Marine to when they can put it on the schedule.
Looking to you. Is that going to be a water bandstand committee or John Devers getting a hold of them to come down and look, or going through the committee?
Well, the repairs previous to this were done through the committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we needed permission from the Board of Selectmen now that this is passed, to spend the money to do the necessary repairs. We need to be able to go move it forward. We haven't been able to meet because of the coronavirus.
Price?
We had all that last fall before we put the warrant article in. So everything's in motion. It's just a matter of approving it by the selectmen to.
And it didn't have to go out to bid.
Did not have to go out to bid.
It's under the 5,000.
It was just around the 5,000. It was, we actually did go out to bid, and there was only one responder.
Okay.
And that was Winnipesaukee Marine. And we actually added a little bit of money to that in case of any unforeseen issues, but it was under $5,000. We, as members or the board, decided to go up an extra $7,000, $700. which brought it over to 5,000.
What's the board's pleasure?
I got one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
These are all warrant articles.
Yes, sir.
I'm worried about tax revenues. This month they're down, if you read that. I don't know if that's a sender from last month or not, from last year. But, if we have a problem with revenues coming in, we have a budget that we operate. We're running a town here. Now, are we gonna have enough money? How long is this gonna last? Gonna last well into the summer? I hope not. There's people out of work. They're gonna be able to pay their taxes. Now, this is warrant article money. We can't spend it on anything other than the warrant article without going back to the townspeople. I know we do have money in the surplus account, right?
Fund
The fund
balance.
balance, yes.
The fund balance, I call it the surplus, it's the fund balance. How much is there now, ballpark here?
About 2.1 million.
I just want us to be careful spending money. And coming up short here at the end of the year. Tax revenues and other revenues.
Bill?
So what do you suggest, Bob? Stop the road projects and everything?
Well, I don't know what the answers are. It's something we have to think about. Put them on hold.
Well, there's two options if the town runs into problems, and I hopefully, fortunately, don't think we will. The next discussion we have on the road reconstruction, that money, I was just talking to Liz before the meeting, that comes in quarterly payments from the state, that $250,000 we get from them.
185.
Well, whatever, it is, right off the top of my head.
It's up this year?
It's been going up every year a little bit. Yeah,
It
we're
was
up to
180, it was 165, and then we were at 185 last year.
about 200,000.
Yeah, we're over 200.
I think it was 282, if I'm not mistaken, right in that area.
Plus the unanticipated, the municipal aid money, we're gonna get that too. That's about
Yeah, but that's,
160.
yeah, that's a 163, wasn't it? Something like that. That's a drop in the bucket.
So Bob, what would you be proposing, to hold off until we start, send the tax bills on, start getting something in July?
Well, no,
To me, July would be too late. And, you know, you look at the roads and you got School Street and Church Street down bottom, but right now, school's closed. And we could start that project and be way ahead because they're not gonna be dealing with the buses or the kids or anything else in those streets right now. They'd be 2-3 months ahead over there. One first.
There's two options that are open to towns and municipalities. We also approved at a town meeting with the voters to borrow money's anticipations of taxes. TAN loan, which the town has used before, but the town has not used that since 1990, I believe. It's been almost 30 years since the town has borrowed money, because in my first year in, we stopped it. And it worked. I mean, we were able to do it, and the town has been able to save money, and a lot of folks don't like that surplus fund being up that high, but this is the reason why it's up this high, in
That's right.
case at times it's something like this.
We try to keep it around 2.8, but we had a couple warrant articles mixed in with it.
There's more than that, we reduced the tax rate,
Yeah.
we reduced the tax rate too, so let's not just blame it on the warrant articles. But that's beside the point. Moving
You can
forward,
reduce the tax rate, but your 2.8 is still gonna be in that account.
but when you took, Mr. Chairman, when you took anticipated tax loans, that was usually when you were on an annual tax basis.
no, we were on 6 months back then.
Yeah.
I said a lot of times, well, I should say, but anyhow, but when you take that note, that's pretty much a guaranteed note for the bank. People are gonna
Oh, yes.
pay their taxes. But in this era we're in right now, people might not be able to pay their taxes if they're not working. I don't know what the employment is in the town of Alton, but there are a lot of people out there that aren't doing too good. So I'm just worried about our tax revenue. And I got no problem with doing the bandstand, that's $5,000. I think it's something we should keep in the back of our minds as we are expending money.
No, I certainly agree. I do agree.
We have to pay the payroll, we have to pay the electric light bill, the insurance, you name it, you know, it's.
Oh, we still also have to pay the school. The school has drawers, every month, and a draw will be coming up for the school at the end of the regular school year, which the town will have to pay. That's normally a big chunk of sum because a lot of teachers take a payout right at the end of the season. So it is something to very much consider. I think, we need to have either yes or no for Mr. Rochelle and his committee tonight. Talking to Mr. Roberts, we're gonna have to talk with him and see where that goes. We could follow the revenues on a week-by-week basis now, but if we wait too long, some of these projects will not be getting done.
Right.
But, it's like School Street, Church Street. That'd be great to get that done, but we can't do anything till we know where the survey is. The survey has to get done first, so we know where the property lines are, where Mr. Roberts wants to put sidewalks in. The water mains on those two roads do need to be done. I was hoping this year they could be done, but the unfortunate part is there's no sense in digging that road up to replace a water main, filling it back, and they put ditch back in, 8 foot wide, to put D-box in, fill it back in and re-hot top, and it just to tear it out another year from now. So that's the one thing the board has to talk about on the next issue. But I do need a motion if you want the bandstand committee to be able to move on with their project.
I make a motion to allow the bandstand committee to get a hold of one of Pasaki to fix the west corner of the bandstand.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to approve the bandstand committee to move on with their project fixing the water bandstand. Second by Phil McDonald. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board.
Bill Whitman.
Bill Whitman, excuse me. What did they say?
Bill McDonald.
Bill McDonald, sorry. Close. I'll poll the board. Bob?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. In the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you said that there were two options that we could, if the revenues weren't coming in. What was the second?
Second one is to use the fund balance. But to use the fund balance, we have to go to DRA with our plans and approvals and get their approval to sign off on it. If I remember that statement right by the town administrator.
Budget committee first and then DRA.
Budget committee has to be brought in to discuss it, and then we have to go before the DRA.
Supposedly, the federal program that they passed in Washington is supposed to give people their salaries that are out of work. As a matter of fact, some people may do better not working with an extra $600 on top of that. So I agree with Bob that we have to be cautious, but I don't necessarily think we might be short on revenues simply because of that program. It just depends on how well the federal government manages it, and we know sometimes they don't manage things.
How well people manage it.
I definitely got to keep an eye on the bottom line.
All right, if there's nothing more on new business underneath the old one, I will move on to old business. Number one, Highway Department 2020 road reconstruction. Mr. Roberts, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, asked Mr. Roberts to be here, and he requested to be with us tonight to discuss the road reconstruction money and how he was proposing to do road reconstruction this year. Back in February 10th, you folks had your meeting, came up with a plan. Just want to turn to those pages, Mr. Roberts, first. And the 2020 road projects, number one was Hayes Road, 2, Tom Road, 3, Linwood Drive, 4, we'll look at Stockbridge Corner Road, 5, Lily Pond Road, 6, Valley Road, 7, School Street, and 8.
Add a road to that is the upper part of Bay Hill, the bottom of that. because that is just brutal.
The very top, you mean?
Go across the highway to the next,
Oh, so
go
you're talking
Upper
on,
Bay Hill.
you're talking on the east side of.
Yeah, Upper Bay Hill.
Up in Mill River, okay.
I mean, the bottom of that's 4 feet in the air.
At this time, if you have nothing to add to that, I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Roberts, let him explain what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. We can ask the questions. Is that all right with you, gentlemen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Roberts, the floor is yours.
Okay, what I'd like to go through is road reconstruction itself. You mentioned Church Street and School Street. You should be receiving a recommendation for the survey probably at your next meeting. With the permission of the board, what I'd like to do, usually I'm able to get out and talk to associations and whatnot. I'm not going to be able to do that in this case because of COVID-19. What I'd like to be able to do is send out a letter to all the residents of the first 3 roads, which would be Hayes Road, Tom Road, and Linwood, to set up appointments if they have concerns about the roadway. And I will discuss in that letter exactly the procedure of what we plan to do in road reconstruction. If I can meet them ahead of time and be able to talk to some of them, when you as the Board of Selectmen finally do a public hearing, I may be able to reduce a lot of that time that may be spent on the phone for a public hearing, as I've done before. This time I'll just have to meet them one-on-one because of COVID-19. That'd be part of it. And right now, what we're doing is, we've already sent the excavator out. It's been working. It's ditching right now. We got several roads that still need to be ditched. So we have plenty of work until that process is started. And once we get that process started, then we can actually set a public hearing date. I really can't do anything as far as ordering material or anything else until we have the public hearing date and it's approved by the Board of Selectmen. So I guess that would be my question to you. Can I proceed that way and be able to reduce that time with the board?
I myself can. I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's legal and accessible. Town administrator, I believe it is. I have no problem with that. That would save you a little time and also help the public be able to get a few of their concerns out of the way, especially directly with you.
How are we gonna have a public hearing?
Well, one is the public hearing. That's what the town administrator is going to have to find out about when we lay out the roads to do the reconstruction, how we're going to hold a public hearing. That's what she'll have to come back to us.
I'm thinking of something right now, actually, that I believe will work using this system right here.
They can hear us and we can hear them.
Just like it's happening
How do we
right
know
now.
who to call on? They have questions.
No, I will consult with the IT director on that, get some more look.
We were to hold a workshop that way or a public hearing. Is there a way to make the number toll-free for the people?
So this long distance,
We can look into that. I can have the IT director look in to see if that is a possibility.
I can't believe that people are paying long distance calls to hear our meeting.
Well, the other thing,
That's our fault. That's this board's fault for doing that to them.
I just asked that question last Friday. They're going to look in to see if there's an 800 number we can buy, so it'll be a toll-free number.
Well, don't we have voice over IP? Can't we set up an internet number or something?
Well, it's the IT
Set
director.
it up through the internet?
I will have the IT director look at all options. The number that Zoom provides to us, I'm not 100% sure that long distance charges apply. A lot of people have distance included in their plans anyways for coverage for them. And I don't know if it's a toll-free number or not.
And hopefully at the next meeting, we can have an answer. Josh will have an answer for us. But yes, it would be nice though, if we could work that out. Yes, sir.
I think, Kenny, you're on the right track. Get the legwork done. But can we hold a public hearing over the phone?
I don't know. That's what the town administrator will be asking the town attorney.
Yes, it is allowed under the law to attend remotely, just like if one of you were out at home and you meeting and vote and everything, it is legal
We don't have to come anymore?
No, you don't. Problem is, you'd end up falling asleep and snoring.
So, Mr. Chairman, again, this is a public hearing. It's not a board of selectmen. This work. I'd just like to make sure that it is legal.
Oh,
I believe sure.
she is. She's going to contact the town attorney this week and ask for it. Mr. Roberts, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so my plan is I'll have the letters made up tomorrow morning. We'll send them out. It will probably take about, I would assume, you know, depending on the response we get, about 3 weeks to do the first 3 roads, and then I'll get back with the Board of Selectmen and basically give you an outline of what's going on and that people are ready for the public hearing. And if we're worried about too much, not to do all 3 of them in one night, maybe we'll do one night, one the next night, and the next night, and get the first 3 done so I can at least start to proceed work on those roadways.
Kenny, how long do you figure before you can start school on Church Street where the school's closed?
It depends on the survey. If the survey is awarded by the Board of Selectmen when it comes to them, it will be entirely up to the survey people when they can put us in their schedule and get the survey done. And then the board really has to look at the survey because I think you're going to find out School Street's going to be very unusual because it's a range road and it's 66 feet wide.
Right.
So we need to address that in the portion between School Street and 140. You know,
Right.
at Pine Street intersection, Church Street and 140, there's going to be a big issue going on in that section and how we're going to address that. And then we need some coordination. Oh, I imagine. I mean, you know, and maybe the thing to do is if you desire after the survey is done to start proceeding, the first thing we ought to do is try putting a water line in and get that underground before we start going to catch basins and everything, because we'll map all of that in place.
That's what I'm wondering, because it'd be a lot quicker now with schools closed. You've got a couple month jump on it.
I agree, but it all depends on the survey coming back in, Virgil.
Okay.
So as soon as that comes to you, if it's awarded, then we'll try to push on them to get it done as soon as possible.
But Mr. Roberts, if you're looking to do Hayes Road, Tom Road, Linwood, after reading your notes and after reading the minutes from the February 10th workshop, I don't think you'd have much money left to do those 2 roads, would you?
That's what I was just going to say.
Depending on what the paving is going to cost, we understand it's going to be jacked again because of, I don't know if everybody's noticed that the oil, they're going to start oil production. They're going to slow it all down because it's getting too cheap for them and too more expensive to produce. But anyway, there's a big thing going on through OPEC that they're going to drop that. Right now, we only have one source of the mixed product according to the pavers, and we don't know what's going to happen with that right now. So we don't know where the cost is going to be. I can come up with preliminary numbers as far as those 3 roads go and give you an idea. We may already have the money within $500,000 to do those 3 because there's not a lot of work on Hayes Road because all the catch basins are in play. Tom Road, we've done a lot of the ditching already, so basically we're only talking about some pipe and a few catch basins, which is not a lot. Linwood, I've looked at several times. It looks like most of it's pipe work. We do have catch basins and stuff already in play on that. So we're talking about the most expensive thing is going to be grinding it up, paving it, putting the top course on. Of course, the finished course won't be till the following year, and backing it up. I don't think it's going to be that expensive until we get to the other side of things, when we start getting into places like the next roads that are listed.
Kenny,
That's where the big expenses are.
Why are we paying to grind it instead of just loading it right in the truck?
Because it takes them little and no time to grind it. They can do it within one day and grind the whole road up and use it part of the base. You know, for us to rip it up, it could take us 2 or 3 weeks to rip up an entire roadway.
No.
Oh, yeah. Believe me.
No.
We've ripped out sections, Virgil. You know, we've done it. They do it in one day. They can do great big sections. Each one of those roads, well, Hayes Road is already dirt, so we're talking about.
At what price? For grinding, say, Linwood?
It's not that bad. It's done by square yards, but I'd have to sit there and look at it. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Yeah, but minimal cost compared to what it would be to put our trucks and everything in there and drag it all the way to the pit. You know, and we use it as part of the base once it's ground up.
This was the whole.
Bob Holt here, Kenny. When can we get, your ballpark prices on those 3 roads?
I can call the paver tomorrow to have them come in and they'll measure them and give me a ballpark price of what the cost is for total cost. That's grinding, grading, the finish grading, the paving, the backup to the binder course, tying in all the driveways. You know, a lot of it goes back to handwork, depending on how many driveways are on certain roads.
And how about just costs for materials? Any
Excuse me?
piping, gravel, whatever?
You know, the gravel I have, and I will add to anything that the pavers need when they're doing the finish grading. They do all the compacting, everything. It goes completely out of my hands when it goes to that part, other than we observe. And if they need gravel, we send our trucks right in to haul gravel into them. We don't pay for gravel outside for them to bring it in.
I, as a selectman, would like the cost of those 3 roads, the projects, everything.
Well, that'll take a little more time. I mean, I haven't walked the roads and tell you how many lineal feet of pipe and everything there is yet. What I'm looking at is just getting a cost from the pavers. That's the big cost. That's usually, you know, the 75% cost of everything.
Ken, do you have some pipe now in stock, plus also catch basins already in stock at the highway department?
I have a few here, yes. We straightened out the pile. We've already gone through them completely. We have a little bit of pipe here, maybe a couple 100 feet, not quite enough. The only place that I need in those 3 roads to set pipe would be on Tom Road. And it only looks like right now 1 catch basin and about 100 feet of pipe. And I already have that in stock. It's just me actually putting it in the ground.
And Paul, if I remember correctly, we had asked you before, the time frame of your actual work as far as the town is concerned on these 3 roads. What you had broke out, what you thought it would take per road.
I mean, I would actually start, I'd love to start working today, but without the public hearing, we can't go in and do anything. We can't cut trees. I mean, we still have to put that out to bid. We have 1 wetlands consideration that we have to get the wetlands people involved in. I mean, there's a couple other courses here. Again, you mentioned earlier, do we spend this money?
That's not what I meant. I meant your actual time frame of actual construction on each road.
Oh, very low, very low. Linwood is a low. You're only talking about a couple of weeks of my time into places like Linwood, depending on the culverts that I have to replace. And I haven't crawled down and looked inside each one of them yet. And we have to look at that to see if they're good. I already know one's smashed because it's sitting on top of the ground and people are driving over it. But anyway, I have to actually get down and look at that. But again, what I can see out of that one, it's light ditching. There's no tree cutting on Linwood. Hayes Road is the same way. It's light ditching. Actually, on the Rhines Road side, there's actually nothing on the Drew Hill side. The catch basins are all in play. That thing was set up to pave before, but it was the residents that didn't want it. And Tom Road is probably going to be the most extensive work that's there because I need a tree cutting crew that we got to send it out to bid for the trees that we've marked, because I can't take care of a lot of stuff that's around the wires, but they need to be taken down prior to. And that's, you can't take any tree down until you have the public hearing. So, you know, things are stages on that thing. You know, it just, for my work, once I get in there, it's not long. We've already done a lot of the ditching work on Tom Road already.
So those 3 roads, you're thinking probably, what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, if I'm lucky. Yeah. And it's the timing of everybody else. You know, the tree cutters to get in so I can pull all the stumps. We're lucky we're right near Rhines Road Pit, our stump dump. You know, that's where the big stuff is. We've actually marked a lot of the trees on Roberts Cove because we're still looking at that, at least getting the, you know, the trees cut down and out of the way. I mean, we're pushing on everything all at one time here, so.
Ken, my next question to you is, you talk about ditching on Hayes Road, it's possible some ditching on Linwood. Is that something you can do now to do some prep work? You don't need to have a public hearing to do ditching on those roads, or is that?
Well, it kind of goes into culvert replacement and all of that. You know, we're not going to tell them what we're going to do, but, you know, if we go in and do all that ditching and replace all the culverts right up and down the roadway, we've basically done our job, and all it is pavers. But I don't know how you read that read that we have to have the public hearings prior to starting that work. I don't know.
Not
That would be up to the
ditch
board.
You don't need a public hearing to ditch or change culverts.
That's entirely up to the board. You know, we've always gone one way with this, so it's entirely up to you. We just changed the numbers around, so we do Hayes Road first, then Linwood. Tom Road would be last because it has a lot of tree cutting that's got to be done. That requires a public hearing.
Well, how about if we, gentlemen, we get the letters out this week? So Ken can get his letters in. We shouldn't do too much, I don't think, until he is able to meet with the residents on that road.
Correct.
At that point in time, he could go back and tell those folks at the meeting that he's going to go back to the board, recommend that he starts doing culverts and ditching. Find out if we can go ahead and do that, which I feel we should be able to, but I want to know for sure. She could check the policy on that. And if it's possible, then Mr. Roberts maybe could get a little started a little ahead of schedule. And then we could see where some of the revenues are. Because we wouldn't need so much for the revenues, and it's my understanding from Ken, until we get to the finish grading and then getting into the grinding and getting into paving. Is that correct, Ken?
Yeah, that's where the big money is. Other than that, the rest of this stuff actually comes out of the operating budget. It's time and manpower. You know, so the only thing that comes out of the road reconstruction would be anything that has to do with that excavator.
So, gentlemen, I need a motion to allow Ken to address the citizens of Hayes Road, Tom Road, Linwood Drive, their concerns about the road reconstruction on those.
Second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the town highway agent to go out and contact the folks at Hayes Road, Tom Road, Linwood Drive for the purpose of road reconstruction. Meet with them ahead of time before the public hearing. Second by Virgil McDonald. Any discussion?
Again, could you refresh our memory or mind, your statements about getting pricing?
Yeah, I'll call Warren Colby, who is our paving contractor, who's been awarded the contract for the town of Alton. I'll call him to have him come out, measure the roads, look at all the handwork that needs to be done for the driveways, and come up with an estimated cost of what it will do, what it will cost for each road to put the binder course down, do the driveways, and do the shoulders. And that includes the grinding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll have them break it. Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, I'll have them break it down, grinding, shoulders, everything. I'll have them break it down piece by piece, and then send it up to the board.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? I'll poll the board. Bob?
Yes,
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil?
Yes.
Reuben, yes. Vote is in the affirmative.
Now, I'd like to make a motion too, to allow him to get the architects going, the surveyors going on Church Street and School Street.
Okay, we can't do that until we award the bid next week.
I thought he had to have an okay to put it out to bid.
You already put this out to bid, Mr. Roberts, right? On School Street?
Yes, actually, yep. And it's been opened, and a recommendation should be coming to the board next week.
Okay, I misunderstood it.
Yep, it's all out to bid.
And just for second thought here, I know it was on the end, but Lily Pond Road's moving right along? The survey?
As far as I know, I have not checked in on that one, I'm sorry. I haven't even looked at it.
Next meeting for us?
And what are we doing on Roberts Cove?
Well, we're marking all the trees, and then we'll go back to the board. That has to have a public hearing prior to cutting of anything. So that's another question mark. What we'd like to be able to do, if we have the time to do it, at least get the contractor in to cut the trees, the big trees that I can't handle. And then right after that, we'll come back to the board and figure out where we're at as far as the list goes, to be able to get back in and work on it.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen. So is this enough, all the questions for road reconstruction? Okay.
Hang on 1 minute. You're gonna take a look at the upper part of Bay Hill when you cross the
I've
highway
already
there?
seen that, Virgil. That's one of the things I actually looked at. We're going to have to really dig that one out and actually put some under drains in. A lot of water got up underneath that road somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming out of where they put the new house there, halfway up, just down from the old chief's house.
Right. I mean, the new,
Pouring right out of that driveway.
the old way we built roads is not the new way. Everything goes underground as much as possible. And at the same time, we put the under drains in, and that's what that road really needs.
Yeah. Okay. As long as it's on your radar.
Yes, sir.
Okay, gentlemen, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to number 2, Harmony Park Wall discussion. We'll keep Ken on the phone. I believe Virgil, Paul, and Ken, you folks met down there, so I'm gonna, Virgil, at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to you because you were at the meeting, I wasn't, so I'm gonna let you go ahead.
No, we looked at it, and we're trying to figure out whether, I don't know, did you get a hold of them, Kenny, to see if they can take the brick off?
He did.
Yes, sir.
What did they say? Yeah, they can take 1 layer or 2 layers?
He said we can't take 2 layers, we then we'll end up taking 3. So we can take 1 off, we'll take the top block off, take the second block and remove it completely. We may have to purchase some end block, but we can put that block back on, the cap block. The only thing he doesn't know, and he hasn't dealt with anybody, and I mentioned this to Paul, is that we need to go out to some type of fence company that is actually going to do borings, and they got to bore through the top cap, which is 6.5 inches, and into the next block in order to set uprights into it, and then they'll have to be mortared in. So it can be done, but that will leave an 18-inch fence line on top that you can see through.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to see Virgil since we met on Friday. And he did call me back later on after he talked to Michiko.
Now, is it possible that Michiko would take back some extra blocks if we didn't use them all?
The only thing is we'd have to pay a restocking charge, but we're also going to have to pay a shipping charge. So I don't know how much we're going to get back on the block.
Where do they have to go to be returned?
Henniker.
Henniker. That's something your tag along can haul?
It'd be quite a few trips, but we probably could. I mean, you know, we'd have to watch the weight. We can't go over 24,000 pounds with that trailer. So, yep, it's something we could look into.
Is there any, are they used for them blocks?
No, unfortunately, they're not structural blocks. They're show blocks. They're above grade, so they're not structural. So you can't backfill up against them, basically. Technically, you can't because they're not supportive blocks.
Ken, I have a question for you again. You had mentioned, maybe the board should know as well, that if we have a fence company come in and that the borings would have to go through the 6-inch cap and also
Yes.
into the second row?
Yeah, it would be the ground level row would be into the next cap, because what happens is if you just put it into the 6-inch cap, if somebody gets on it and starts rocking it, you can break that cap free. It's only 6.5 inches thick. So actually you need that post to go down into the next block, which is one of the structural blocks. And that would keep the cap in place as well as not being able to move. So that has to be a boring of, I would guess, anywhere, you know, between 10 to 12 inches deep from the top.
When was the schedule for GMI to return?
I don't know because the cease and desist was given. I hadn't talked to anybody about that.
Liz might have an answer for you on that.
I spoke to Jeff today. He's from GMI, Jeff Perry, and he told me that they're working on their spring schedule, and they had made a promise to the town to have everything done by May. But because of the cease and desist, that's going to push that beyond. So I have to send him a letter confirming the cease and desist, and so that was, they hadn't quite said it yet, but it was supposed to be done before.
It was supposed to, that's what I was asking.
Now, what did they decide? They're gonna leave the walkway the way it is?
With the exception of taking that one block off.
So we can lift this desist and give them our order tonight if we have to get them in there.
Do I know?
We can, tell them what we want tonight, vote on it tonight, so Michi Corps and GMI could start and finish it.
You have to remember, this was a special warrant article.
Yes.
Only had so much money appropriated with it, and I
Right.
believe we're right to about zero on this project now.
No, this,
What do we have left?
Kenny, how much is in that account for the wall still?
Well, there's still $24,000 to complete the project, but we only paid GMI their 90%. So we still have that last bit of money. That 24 is the last payment to GMI, because we actually encumbered 12,000 out of the operating budget a couple of years ago in order to make this whole thing work.
What did he say it was gonna cost to take the layer of block off? Did you get a price from him? Or an
No, I
estimate?
haven't even talked to anybody about it yet. And I'd have to go back to Michi Corps and see what it would cost to have the blocks changed around, because I'll have to make different end blocks in order to make this whole thing work, so it matches together.
I think that's the next course of action then, is to actually get a price to move the blocks and actually see if we can return the blocks, what it's gonna cost for a restocking fee, and what it's gonna cost to see if we can get a contractor to figure a 18-inch railing.
Plus to have the blocks board, right, Kenny?
Cord, yeah.
That would all be done by a fencing company. I mean, from what I understand, it's common for them to have to bore down through concrete or something in order to set fence posts. I've never seen it done. I've never been around anybody that did it. So like I mentioned to Paul, that's kind of really out of my league. I'm not even sure, other than go into the phone book and start calling a whole bunch of fence companies and find out if we can even do it. And then I don't know.
You have one gentleman here in town that does boring, and that's Ben Shibley. He has a boring company, but maybe he could, maybe just for reference, he might be able to give us some costs. But how much time would you need to be able to go out to Michi Corps, GMI, and find a railing company such as Rochester Fence
Well,
down there, 125, and this others, just to get some prices?
there's another one over in Gilmanton, Dave Whitehouse,
Be nice to get
cores and fences.
and to see if there's actually another option besides boring. And that would be drilling and bolting.
The only
That's an
the only thing about drilling and bolting, I caution you on, is what they cautioned us on, is most of that Hilti anchor stuff is an expansion. You know, when you go down into the lead core, when you're expanding it, you're putting pressure on that concrete cap.
That cap.
That would be the only thing.
Well, what's the PSI on the cap? Could be 4,000.
Yeah, but you're talking about going to put at least 4 bolts on each anchor point. If you can get it all the way down through 6.5 plus something into the base block, then the Hilti goes into the base block is a little bit different.
I've never had a problem anchoring stuff on 4,000.
Guys, one at a time, please.
I've never had a problem anchoring stuff on 4,000 with the anchors.
Yeah, but these, Mr. Chairman, are individual blocks.
Right.
It's not a solid wall.
So if Ken, I'm gonna stop here at this time and go back to my original question. How much lead time do you need to get Miramichi, GMI, and find a hand railing company? You need 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I'll need at least a couple of weeks. I'll call everybody I can tomorrow, and I'll get a hold of GMI and talk to Jeff, see how fast they can move back in. Well, they can't move back in until you make a decision on the fence line and how we're going to pay for it.
Correct. And 2 is, and what the added cost might be for what we're asking to redo.
Right.
Correct?
So I can get on the phone with him tomorrow. As soon as I get Dustin to call me back, I'll tell him what we need, and he has an idea of what we're going to be returning, so he can give me an idea of what that is. And if there's a restocking charge and what we'll get for credit on that towards the other block, and then take a look at what the shipping cost would be too.
Well, hopefully if they had to bring us some blocks, maybe they could haul the old blocks back and skip the shipping fee.
Would be nice.
My next question is, possibly maybe Fish and Game might be interested in those extra blocks to put on their retaining wall that they were talking about.
The only thing about that is they're not a structural block. They're only a show block.
Okay.
You know what I mean by structural is that when this thing started out, the base block in that thing is 64 inches deep. So when the stone went on top of it, that's what held it in play. The next, and don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I think the next one up was like 45 inches. deep.
Okay.
And then the stone went on top of it. That's what a structural block is, so it can retain the surface that's pushing against it. That top block only retains, it's just showpiece on both sides.
How heavy is that top piece, that 6-inch piece? Any idea?
No, I don't. I know that the base blocks ran in around 700 pounds a piece. So I don't know what it is on the top blocks.
If it's 150 pounds or something like that. I would still entertain looking into the idea of, when you talk to a railing contractor, if tap ponds could be used.
Yep, I'll ask him. The recommendation from Michi Corps was to go in completely down through.
All right,
That way you'd allow no water in there or anything.
okay.
Okay, so Jim,
Thank you.
Ken, so you're thinking 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, as fast as I can get somebody up to look at them, and whether or not they'll entertain that quickly. Yep, but I'll let you know as it comes about.
All right, so we'll wait to hear from you, and hopefully maybe 2 weeks. If not, let Liz know, and then if we have to push it out the third week, we'll push it out the third week.
Right, and I'll talk to Jeff that we'll have a decision in probably a couple of weeks on when we're going to move back in and do whatever we're going to do.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Paul has a question for you.
Just one more thing. Just keep it in your mind, Ken. This is an 18-inch rail. It's not really a tall guardrail. A 42-inch, 36-inch guardrail. It's an 18-inch rail. It's mostly there for appearance. If you really think about it, it's not something that's very tall. It doesn't have to have the same strength as a 42-inch railing. Just keep that in thought.
I'll discuss that with Michi Corps.
Okay.
Ken, is there anything else you'd like to say to the board?
No, I guess that would be it. Other than, let's see, design of it, because I've been kind of running through designs in my mind. Besides the anchor points that would be in it, there'll be a 4-inch space underneath the rail. So that knocks out 4 inches. So we're only talking about a 16-inch tall fence, and that will do our 42 inches, which is ADA requirement.
And Phil has a question for you, Ken.
Actually, it's for Virgil, since you had turned it over to Virgil and Paul. Last time we discussed the wall, did you have concerns or questions about the base, the part that's actually?
They're gonna check the stone underneath it. They're gonna check it and then riprap it. They're gonna check everything first.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. Well, Kenneth, there's nothing else. I appreciate your time tonight.
What type of rail?
Calling in and meeting with us on the road reconstruction and Harmony Park Wall discussion.
Well, I think you gotta do that before the price, right? We gotta decide on what type of rail going on there, or you can go get a price on it.
Well, I would be going towards an aluminum rail system. That's why I'm saying I do not for an 18 and 16-inch high wall with a black aluminum railing that's attached to the top of that.
Is that what the board figures,
That's just something
aluminum?
I suggest.
Because if you're going with aluminum railing, you're better off to get East Coast down there, out of Guilford. East Coast Welding, Allen. He does a lot of them for a lot of the towns around here, and he's really good at it. And he's very fair priced.
Okay, can you look at a price or whether it be a metal galvanized round railing or a aluminum railing?
And he's got the boring tools too for drilling the concrete. I mean, I got a coring bit right at the house if we need it.
And that was East Coast Welding?
East Coast Welding, yeah, Allen.
I'll call him.
You remember him from the barge days.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
Anything else for Mr. Roberts? Before we let him go?
I expressed at our last meeting concerns of that wall. The looks of it, from across the bay, it looks terrible. I had concerns with spacing in the blocks, and they're not even. I had concerns, Kenny, was that wall built right? And was there inspections done on that wall?
Which part do you want me to start with first? First of all, the inspections were done by me as it was being built. There's a set of plans that they had to adhere to. They went above and beyond the plans as they were building it up. It's a freestanding wall, so as far as inspections from an engineer is not required because it's a freestanding wall. I kind of explained that to Virgil and Paul before. You know, when you go beyond a freestanding wall, then you need an engineer to inspect and make sure the geotech is put in properly to anchor it back. But because that thing starts out with a 64-inch base block that's covered, that's where it starts from. And as far as spaces between the wall, it bleeds anyway. And do put a drain at the bottom in case that happens. And any spaces that you see above ground or below ground, they're actually fillers that go in for that after the fact. So as far as looks goes, it does change.
Anything else, Bob?
No, I'm not satisfied. I don't think that project was built right, and there's a lot of people that agree with me in this town. I'm sorry.
Everything looks like hell before it's done.
Well, you can't fix that. We'll fix it.
Did ask those questions. When we went down, they brought the plans down, and he confirmed what we were looking at, how the wall was put in, they compacted, put in the base before they started the construction of the wall, and the necessary drainage that had to be installed.
This will be all chinked. They have what
So
they
we did
call
ask
a wick
these
go in
questions
there.
about
All those gaps will be chinked.
Chink, they got what they call a wick that goes in there. With all the gaps.
So those, what you're asking, we did ask him at that time.
I question spending on that wall so far, how much money we were gonna spend on the wall originally. At the last meeting, I still don't have anything.
Right,
How
well,
much money do we have left? How much have we spent? I wanna see it on paper.
we will have Lori get that out at the next meeting.
Okay, because how much money are we gonna spend on this from here on out? to make-
Should have been back, we should already have that information, but I will ask Lori to get it out again.
I met with Liz on it a while back. He has that info.
Well, Laura can get it right out for next week's meeting. So we'll have it for next week's meeting, you can review it, and you'll have 2 weeks to look at it before Mr. Robbie gets back to us on pricing. Okay. Does that sound good, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You gentlemen have any other questions for Ken before I let him go for the evening? Ken, thank you for your time. Welcome back after your knee surgeries. I appreciate your effort in getting back on board with us and up to speed. Tell you guys, thank you for the work, and I hope you folks don't have to go out tonight after these heavy rains.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your week.
Ken.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks. Okay, gentlemen, moving on from old business, we'll go to Selectmen's report. I'm sure not many of us have anything, seeing none of the boards are meeting. Bob did ask earlier in the week, I'll just give my chairman's report, to follow the revenue stream compared to last year, compared to this year, and it is down a little bit in some areas. That's one thing we'll ask Laura to do from week to week on our meetings, to show us how the revenues might increase or decrease. You'll also see that in your monthly reports. If you have anything you want on the agenda, I request that you talk to Liz. See if she can get on the agenda, because we are trying to keep the agenda small so we can move on. The crews that we have out there right now are really working hard and trying to do what they can with what limited resources they're kind of given right now. Most of them are all trying to watch their budgets diligently, because if they know possibly revenues could be short this year if people can't pay their taxes. The next thing, I got to contact Mr. Quimby from the Cyanobacteria Committee, because the fire department did call me today to find out when they have to stop using mill ponds water for training, or even if they can use it. We'll get a hold of Mr. Quimby tomorrow and contact the chief and Mr. O'Brien, because he's the one that did call me on that. Everything down at the Bay is working well. The emergency management meeting today went very well. Things are looking good. I did ask him though, as a store owner here in town, that I thought people might be getting a little more at ease with the situation of the pandemic going on, or maybe getting a little more lax. So they are going to try to stress that a little bit more to keep the social distancing going on, because we're not out of the woods yet. The governor did report tonight, he's not calling off school for the rest of the year. We're returning to school. He says it's too early for him, but he does not look like schools would be reopening this year in the state of New Hampshire. That was on tonight's news before it came down. Route 11 West, like I said, from the scenic view going forward, it's worked out well with the no parking. The chief will be coming to you, or the town administrator will be coming to you to see if we want to make that a permanent fix. DOT did ask the chief if it does, and it's possible that it'll make everybody's life easier, even after the pandemic's over, that we keep it that way.
Yeah.
But it's something for you folks to give food for thought about, because if it is, then we have to approve it and ask the chief to send a letter. There were a few other concerns about Mountain Road. The police department did look in that. There wasn't much going on up there. That was about hikers going in different trails and different parking areas that we have around town. So other than that, emergency management meeting went well. The chief has done a very good job in retaining. All of you have been there.
I think
Phil, you'll be with me at Thursdays.
Still 1:30, right?
Still 1:30, and Virgil, you'll be with me next Monday.
yeah, I think the fire chief and the police chief, I think the whole
crew
has done a fantastic job.
The whole committee has done a fantastic job.
Yeah, they have.
Right from the get-go, they're doing a good job.
They're way ahead of it.
Fantastic.
And I will say, I think we're a little bit more ahead than what other towns had participated in, because we stepped into it so fast and Liz brought it to our attention. So I do say we have to go along with that, and the town is right now very in good condition. So
We're doing working.
Townspeople should be proud of their staff here that pulled it off.
well, I think our citizens as a whole should be proud of themselves, because they have taken heed to the warnings from the Emergency Management Committee, the governor's office, and the federal's office. I think they've done very well. They've been very patient, and that's all we can ask for: continued patience and cooperation as we move through this the next month or two. So that is all that I have. And I'll look at the town administrator for her report.
So you all have a memo at your seat from the solid waste superintendent, Scott Simons. This is the information you requested from the last meeting on a number of items for each issue that there's a drop-off fee for. And the request is the same, asking the board to temporarily suspend the fee charges for these drop-off items.
Mr. Simon, is Scotty on the phone with us tonight? Is he going to call in? Scott, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Scott came down and saw me, just to talk to me a little bit about it. And basically what he's saying is this would be a per week average. This would not, you couldn't come in every day, it's open. And if you have a TV, computer, monitor, you'd be allowed 2 for that week. They will keep track of license plates and individuals that way. Is that correct, what you said, Mr. Simons? Did I have it right?
Just gonna keep track, so if we can get money from FEMA, for our losses. But also, most of these items we pay to dispose of to get recycled through the revolving account anyway, except for the stuffed furniture or mattresses. That's our general account.
But we pay to get rid of the tires and stuff, propane tanks.
Yeah, we pay to get rid of all that, and that comes out of my revolving account anyways. That don't come out of general account, general fund.
And then what are you gonna put the revolving account onto, the emergency?
Lost income.
He's going to keep track of the items that are being thrown out that would normally have a fee associated with them. And then those dollar amounts and those items, that information is going to be given to the emergency management team to submit to FEMA for a 75% reimbursement.
We ought to take these limits off. We're gonna be reimbursed for it.
Well, hoping for reimbursement.
We're hoping for reimbursement up to 75%. Doesn't mean we're going to.
Doesn't mean we're gonna get.
But the other thing is, you don't want the crew and you don't want the town to be overwhelmed by somebody that decided they're gonna clean their backyard after holding this stuff for 20 years. The other thing you have to think about, some of these tires that might come in that's been sitting out in the woods for several years might have mosquito nesting and ponding in them from the old water, and you don't want them sitting out there for a few days. It might carry the West Nile virus or something like that. We don't want to deal with something like that. And where he said basically the fees for this to get rid of it will come out of his revolving account. We could get 75% reimbursed. Myself personally, I have no problem with doing this, but I still feel it should be limited like he's saying it should be. That someone can't just show up with 100 tires that they've got out in the woods. And all in 1 week, they just dump them.
Because that will happen.
It sure will.
Oh, Scott, this is Paul.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense to you guys to take down name, address, and bill people? That's too much work. I mean, I don't understand. Somebody pulls up, I've got 2 TVs, 2 tires, okay, this is what you got, write it down, name, address, and send them a bill.
Well, it's like now, we do that, no, they come in, we tell them what they pay us. If we're gonna do that, keep track of the name and stuff, send them a bill, what's our chance of getting the check or paid? We'll have the information, send the cop to them, but.
What if we don't get anything from FEMA?
But they're trying to limit contact with them.
I understand you're trying to limit contact. You don't have to contact them at all. In other words, they're gonna be dropping off these items anyway. They're doing it free. I mean, they're coming like they normally would to drop off these items. Now they're doing it free.
Correct.
They're leaving, you're writing down the license plate number, but you can't write down name, number, and address?
Yeah, we could, but, I mean, it's like you guys had a discussion earlier about people paying taxes. We may not get any money out of this either.
Right.
Or we have a revolving fund.
All right, just wondering how difficult that would be to do that.
All right, we've had,
Dump calls.
this is a little bit off subject, well, we had some checks that disappeared. And nobody's ever come to the town or come to me and say, hey, nothing showed up in my statement. That's $1,200 worth. So, you know, that's what's gonna happen here, I feel.
How are you handling the sales right now? When people break, contractors come in?
Contractor comes in, we weigh him in, weigh him out, we tell him how much, and they usually just give us a check. But like I said, there's 9 contractors per week average in the last month. That's, you know, that's in 4 days. I'm getting anywhere from 10 to 30 taxpayers per day. So I'm, you know, between 40 and 80 in 4 days. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of handling.
We have to think of the employees.
Okay,
And their
no, I
safety.
totally get it.
Catching
I'm just trying to find out another solution.
Unfortunately, this pandemic, state of emergency has thrown many municipalities into this. You have to pick and choose, you know?
Right.
That's right, yeah.
No, I'm just trying to look for another solution to help the solution in case, so we don't lose revenue.
Well,
that's all.
So like I was talking
Well,
with Scott today, when we were talking about cardboard, we were talking about plastics. And some folks have said, well, we're gonna stop recycling. Well, the problem is the cost of recycling is costing us more than if we just threw it in the hopper. The problem is we were still recycling at that time, and when the company was coming to haul down the recyclables, they were just backing into the landfill and dumping it. So we were paying extra to get rid of it, thinking it's recyclables, but they're just throwing it right in with the household rubbish and everything else too. And that was the other reason of, you know, waiving some of these recyclings right now, because we're paying extra money to recycle when they're just going down and dumping it, where it could save us $40 extra on a trip. So gentlemen, I need a motion to waive TV, computer monitor, refrigerator, air conditioner, the dehumidifier, stuffed furniture, propane tank, and tires. Fees to be waived until the end of the pandemic.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
As presented, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion is made to waive items feed as presented from the Solid Waste Center, April 13, 2020, seconded by Virgil McDonald. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Virgil?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. Vote is affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Simon. Is there anything else you'd like to talk to us about?
Nope, that's it. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you,
All right,
sir.
Have a good night.
Scott.
Enjoy
Yep,
your
thank
week.
you. Have a good night.
Thank
I
you.
will. Thank you.
All right, Town Administrator, you got more for us?
I do. I wanted to let you know that today I received a resignation notice from the assistant mechanic at the highway department, Stephen Waterman. He's given his 2-week notice and missed by the town. He's an excellent employee, and this is just to let you know
Bad.
that has happened, and we will begin the process of creating an ad and advertising and trying to recruit someone for the position.
Are we doing an exit interview?
No, I could though. Well, I would have to do it remote. Well, I guess, yeah, I could do it over the phone.
I'm just wondering because, I mean, job's pretty good. I mean, unless he found a better job and move on, I would just like to see boys that have been with us for a while, that we have exit interviews, just find out if we're doing something wrong or they just lost interest in the position.
Smart kid.
Because with the benefits we offer, the pay that was there, I mean, that's a great pay. And then with the retirement package and everything, it's just hard to see someone.
It'd be nice to talk to him on it.
I can tell you, I will reach out to him for an exit interview. I can tell you that he did go to another position with the federal government at a much higher hourly rate.
There you are.
There it is. And that's good. I'm just glad he's bettering himself, moving on, and I wish him well and his family well.
It's a good little mechanic.
It's just nice. I like to see some exit interviews, especially when something just pops up like this. You just wonder, a lot of your private, bigger companies do it. They do exit interviews.
I think it's nice to make sure you don't have problems down there that we don't know about.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I have is for non-public.
Okay.
That's it?
Yep.
Boy,
She was
I
told to
don't know
keep
what's
the meeting.
going on with you lately, but you don't have a whole lot on your agenda. This is going wrong
Well,
here.
basically, it was told her to keep the meeting short. She was trying to.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, moving on. We're going to move on to approval of March 31st, 2020 emergency meeting.
All right. Are we disclosing this or no?
We made a motion not to divulge the information. We've
Right.
already approved that. We just need to.
But we're approving the minutes. We have to make a motion to not divulge them or to let them out now.
The first one is the emergency meeting, which is the open session part. There's no sealing of that. But the second set has already been sealed by a vote on that date. So if you just leave it as is.
But they're both May 31st, right?
Right. The one is non-public and one is the open session.
You're approving the minutes of the open session.
Yeah.
Mine's going into non-pub.
First page.
Yeah.
First page.
It's a regular meeting. That was to open up the meeting so we could go into non.
Oh, where Kenny's,
Kenny's one you
Wrote
guys
that?
already approved. Yep, the February 10th meeting, you guys
Yes,
folks already.
that one's already approved. Move to the next.
all right, so now I'm on March 31st,
5 PM.
Alton Town Hall.
Yep.
There's no minutes.
The minutes are.
I have 5:05 entered into non-pub.
Yep.
And 6:29 exited non-pub.
Yep. Those are the open session minutes, because those motions have to be made. The first one has to be made in open session. So you're right, that's the right set.
That's the first meeting.
So I opened up the meeting and then once I opened up the meeting, I moved for a motion to let us go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A-2, paragraph 2, and then the 91A:3, C and I.
Okay, now you're
Okay,
down.
so second, I did a roll call at that point, we went into non-public. Down there, I want to move to 6:29 PM to exit non-public, we hold second. roll
With
call
no
when
minutes.
vote was done. But wait a minute. Those two in between there, in our public session, we were only there for about 2 minutes to make the motion to go in. Then we came out, the selectmen then slightly left the room next to the building, front steps, the hall where the meeting had originally been called to order, and we We moved not to divulge the minutes because the divulging of the information likely would affect adversely the reputation of any persons other than a member of this board. Second by Bob Holt, a roll call was done. So all you're doing is, on this first page, is approving the minutes of us going in, and then when we came out, and we adjourned the meeting.
You can't do that. You gotta have the minutes in there.
We had no minutes in there, commercial. The minutes are on the next page that were not divulged.
All right,
Those are
I'm
non-public.
abstaining.
We have minutes there on the next page of the non-public session. Those are the minutes of the non-public. Those are the other ones that we voted on not to divulge.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the first opening up of the meeting on, March 31st minutes.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion made by Bob Holt to approve the emergency meeting minutes of March 31st, 2020, public session. Second by Paula Rochelle. I'll poll the board, discussion. I'll poll the board. Bob?
Yes.
Bill?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Yes.
Paul?
Abstain.
Abstain. Ruben, yes. 2 abstentions and 3 in affirmative. Next would be March 31st, 2020, non-public minutes.
Are we gonna keep these sealed?
These are not to be divulged, yes. That's the way we voted
So we're gonna
at the meeting when we.
revote these or leave them?
They've already been sealed.
Already,
Don't
you just
worry
have to
about it.
approve it, correct?
Oh, wait,
Just better approve.
if we approve them, then we have to reseal them.
No,
They're already voted to be not divulged. Now all you're doing is approving the minutes as presented.
If you approve the minutes after we've had the meeting, and out of all these years that I've been through this, when we took them from the meeting that we said not to divulge, and we approved the minutes, we have to do them again, not to divulge, because that's the way Jim told us to do it.
if you feel more comfortable doing that, by all
Well,
means.
that's the way the town attorney told us to do it.
That's not the way.
That's if you didn't seal them that night.
No, we always seal them that night. And then when we get the minutes, you have to vote on the minutes and not to divulge them. And that was, Jim told us to do it that way.
If you feel more comfortable, go ahead and
I
make
would.
that motion, and
I make a motion that we approve the non-public session on March 31st, 2020, and not to divulge.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion made by Irvin McDonald to approve the non-public session minutes of March 31st, 2020, and not to divulge. Second by Paula Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Virgil?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bill?
Abstain.
Same. Bob?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. 4 an affirmative, 1 abstention. Approval of the consent agenda, gentlemen. You have at your table?
I have a question on,
Yes, sir.
on number 2.
Yes, sir.
Is that, did we forget that, or did we, when we were signing them
The
all
annual
and
merit
voting on them the
increase?
last time?
So, I don't know if it's in the folder tonight or it was in last week's.
Last week's, we had, with all the, we had to sign them all, and then we voted on a bunch of merit.
Right, so, and there are still more to come. I was just given a stack today at 4:10, and I just didn't have time to get them onto here. So, this one, was not approved last week. Number 2A.
Yeah, and you will have more coming down the road because they're doing so many departments each week, so we're not inundated like we were last week with all the signatures we had to do.
So we'll get inundated again.
Well, Liz is trying to look out for you.
Thank God.
Okay, any other discussion on the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted to us on April 13th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Paul Rochelle to approve the consent agenda April 13th, 2020 as presented, second by Bob Holt. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
The intent to excavate. You don't have to have the 155E or anything on there?
There has to be something in the file for signature. Did you?
Oh, for signature, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it had to be on this. Okay.
Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Virgil?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. All in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Okay, next one will be discretionary action on requests or appointments. We have none. And before we go non-public, I would just like to say to the public, you'll hear us come back out again. I would encourage any of you that have any public input to email the town of Walton or call the town of Walton or mail us a letter, concerns about your public input or for information concerns you might have, so we can have it in. I was hoping I'd see some this week. We did not. So at next week's meeting, it'd be nice to hear from the public, whether you think we're doing a good job or a bad job, or if you have certain concerns or certain questions. And we'd love to hear from you. And I know this is a little hard for all you folks out there listening to us to figure out why we're doing and how we're doing it. But we would love to hear from you so we can answer some questions. That's all I have, gentlemen. Can I have a motion to enter into non-public session? Beneath RSA 91-A, :3, paragraph 2B.
Second.
Who made the motion?
Rogan?
I asked to make,
All right.
I asked for a motion, but I made the motion. Second by Virgil. I'll pull the board. Virgil?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Ruben, yes.
I couldn't remember all
We're
that.
out. We are now in non-public session.